Welcome everyone to the definitive guide to Hideout. I originally started making this map guide shortly after my Nomad map guide when Hideout was still in the map pool in March 2020. I didn't have time to finish it then, and we consistently had changes to the map, so now we're in May, and I've had some clips that are recorded from March, some that are recorded in May, so I apologize if the video gets a bit too choppy, but I did add timestamps in the description if you just want to jump to a specific section or to my final thoughts that I'm recording now in May. So let us guide you through the current version of Hideout. When I first heard of this map, I was thinking of a secret cove filled with pirates, or maybe the home of Robin Hood and his merry men. You start with a meager palisade wall surrounding your base and some resources scattered around the map. The key is to not get too comfortable inside your walls. After all, this isn't a fortress, and your hideout isn't that hard to actually find. This guide will go through the map in a similar style as my previous guide for Nomad. I'll point out specific points on the map, civilizations that have strong options, their specific build orders, and then general map tips. This is definitely not my best map, so I made sure to get a lot of input from other players in the community, most of whom are much stronger than I am. The palisade walls you start with cover either 1, 2, or 3 sides of your base, with the last sides consisting of the large forest in the center of the map. Your primary stone and gold can be on either side of your palisade walls, generally within a few tiles of the fence. You have 2 boars, 3 deer, and 8 sheep scattered unevenly on either side of your fence. Also, your primary gold only has 5 tiles instead of the usual 7. This means you'll have 1,600 less gold than you would on, say, standard Arabia. The big difference between this version of Hideout in DE from previous versions is that the resources are so close to the palisade walls. I personally like this change because it reduces how easily you can fast castle. If everyone was going to be fast castling every match, it really would come down to which civilizations have the best castle age composition, and it would completely ignore the Dark Age and Feudal Age advantages of each civilization. So let's talk strategy. At first glance, the similarity to Arena might lead you to go for a fast castle build order. However, a simple tower rush could force you off gold because of how exposed the resources generally are. So from there you might think, well, maybe I'll still try to go for a fast castle, but maybe go up to Feudal Age a little bit earlier so I have the option and flexibility to react to any Feudal Age aggression. But I think the key here is to make sure that you go for Feudal Age aggression. There is one civilization that I think can consistently pull off a fast castle, but we'll get to that in a bit. The 5 main possibilities for aggression before Castle Age come in the form of either militia or man-at-arms plus towers, a standard tower rush, archers, or scouts. The choice obviously depends on what civilization you're playing as. I don't recommend a Spanish or a Bulgarian player to go for archers since they lack crossbow, but both those civilizations do have a very strong man-at-arm and towers play. Here, for example, you can see Varyan going for Bulgarians against me in a ranked game, and he's going for a man-at-arms and tower push. Despite my titanic response to his push, you can see how strong Ek can be and how he still has economy follow-up behind this. He can take his deer freely, and I don't have the resources to mount a counterattack anytime in the near future. But I wouldn't consider man-at-arm and towers as the most dominant opening on Hideout. The reason behind that is man-at-arms into towers is quite a bit of an investment in Feudal Age. You have to invest in the man-at-arms, which isn't the biggest investment. It's more the villagers that accompany them to go forward and build the towers. Those 4 or 5 villagers aren't collecting any resources for the duration that they are forward. The archer opening is the opening I rank the highest. The reason for that is it doesn't take a huge toll on your economy. The archery range and blacksmith fulfill the 2 buildings you need from Feudal Age to click up to Castle Age, and archers, even if they're scouted ahead of time, can still put quite a bit of damage on your economy. Even if your opponent scouts and notices that you have archers coming forward, what are they going to do? If they invest in an archery range and skirmishers, the food investment into skirmishers is going to delay their castle age time quite a bit. If they try to tower, they're going to be lacking stone when they get to castle age and want to drop town centers. And if they just try to wall up, they might lose a ville in the process. Britons are definitely a favorite among archer civilizations. They have a strong start due to their sheep gathering bonus. They can produce archers faster from their ranges, and their archers gain that extra bit of range once they hit castle age. It's also easier for them to boom with their cheaper town centers. Another civilization that can do very well with their archers is Saracens due to their bonus against buildings. They can cut through palisade walls like butter. Men-at-Arms Towers is my second favorite opening. I think of it as a little bit like the Feudal Age equivalent to Conquistadors, where you're delaying your economy to have a really big power spike right at the beginning of Feudal Age. The civilizations on the screen all have various bonuses that benefit their tower rush. The key to the strategy, though, is surprising your opponent. If they scout your men-at-arms or villagers coming forward ahead of time, they have a lot of time to prepare, whether that's clicking up to Feudal Age so that they can build counter towers, or walling their base up more, or even creating their own military. If you don't want to invest the villagers going forward, you can try to take the middle ground where you go for militia or men-at-arms on their own. The problem with that, though, is all you're going to be denying is the resources already outside of your opponent's walls. So it does give you some map control, but they can easily wall behind any palisade walls you're attacking. I still think the infantry choice is better than a scout opening. You're saving 175 wood from not building a stable, and the extra food that scouts require to produce will delay your castle time quite a bit more. The exception to that are two different civilizations. The first one is the Khmer. Now the Khmer is that special civ that I do recommend going with a fast castle for. Might sound weird to you, a scout opening and a fast castle. Well, the thing is, you go with your scout opening after you've clicked up to castle age. Because the Khmer don't need those two feudal age buildings as a prerequisite to click up to castle age, they can save quite a bit of wood. In fact, you only need 3 villagers on wood from the start of Dark Age to get you all the way up to castle age, and then build a stable around the 11-minute mark. I have a separate video for each of these build orders in the description, and one of them is a fast castle build order for the Khmer demonstrated by Munchies. And I promise you, this isn't a build order like my Khmer 16 pop build order I did 6 months ago, which was absolutely useless. This is a very strong build order, and you have the flexibility after you fast castle to counter or boom depending on what the situation asks for. The other civilization that I think can do very well with scouts is the Cumans. Because Cumans have the option for a second town center in Feudal Age, they can continue to boom in Feudal Age. They still will want to have map presence, and scouts do a really good job at that because they don't cost gold. When you're booming, you don't want to be investing in mining camps or villagers collecting gold. You want to keep everyone on food and wood. That's what you need to boom. So with scouts, all you need is that food and wood. So as you can see, there are quite a few strategies and openings on Hideout, which makes the map quite interesting, I think. The key to being successful, though, is to be able to recognize which civilization will have which opening. You can take a guess at what your opponent might be doing, and then make sure to go and scout to confirm that they are indeed going with that option. If you see villagers taking stone in Dark Age, try to find forward villagers at your base that might be dropping towers. If you see their villagers are on gold before the 10-minute mark, expect either man-at-arms or archers. And if your opponent has map packs and you can't see any of the resources, have some military ready to contest map control. After Feudal Age is over, the tradition on Hideout is to go into a full boom. A lot of players get really greedy, adding a 4th or 5th town center. But this is definitely not the only play. If you saw my top 5 plays video from last week, you will have seen Project Belgium in a Burmese mirror match go for a monk siege push with exceptional success. Speaking of monks, the limited amount of gold on the map makes relics extra important on Hideout. Make sure you also scout all the various extra golds and resources around the map. Walling off one side of the map is a common technique to make sure you only have to attack or defend the other side of the map. Just allows the game to be a little bit easier on you so you don't make a huge mistake and blow your lead. But make sure you don't wall out those precious resources and relics. In fact, maybe you want to wall your opponent into their base if they're being too greedy with their boom. The next focal point is what your late game composition is going to be. With limited gold and choke points on both sides of the map, infantry and siege is probably the best play. Alternatively, you can always cut through that center wood with onagers or ballista elephants and hit your opponents right in their eco. Before I get to my top 5 civilizations, I do have a few odd bits and tips to share. The first is don't be afraid to put holes in the starting palisade wall. You'll see a lot of players put cows or other herdables under their gates to keep them open while they lure in boars or deer. But if the gates aren't perfectly in line with the animals, just make a hole. Just make sure the hole is 2 tiles wide, otherwise boars and deer can both get stuck there. It's very easy to plug that hole back up with a house, and in fact, you make it even stronger since houses have more HP than palisade gates. If your deer are farther away from your town center, it's probably not worth the effort to push them. If you're going to get housed or have idle time on your town center since you're paying so much attention to your deer push, and then the deer just go back anyways, it's not going to make for a good start to your game. It's really important to know when to stop pushing deer as well. Around the 8-minute mark, you want to have your scout at the opponent's base, figuring out what strategy they are going for. Now for the top 5 civilizations. As we have already referenced, there are quite a few different civilizations that can be successful with their different openings, but we now need to look at civilizations that will work for the entire duration of the match from Dark Age to post-Imp. These top 5 civilizations are based off of my personal judgment and how often I've heard them recommended from other members of the community. So please share your own list of your top 5 civilizations in the comments as well. My top 3 are Aztecs, Britons, and Khmer. All 3 of these civilizations have strong economies that they can take advantage of to their fullest potential. Aztecs have strong trash units as well as terrific monks that can both collect relics and convert the enemy's gold-intensive units. The Britons' extra range on their archer line units can make them very difficult to counter. And the Khmer's boom is near unmatched, and their late gate composition is just so flexible. Filling out the last 2 civilizations is much harder to do. Spanish have strong man-at-arms and towers, and it sets them up perfectly for either conquistadors in Castle Age or booming straight to Imperial Age, where they have Halb and Siege. Burmese are arguably a slight improvement due to their free wood upgrades and their vision of all those very important relics. But my 4th and 5th top civilizations are Celts and Bulgarians. Both have a strong economy behind their man-at-arms and towers, both have solid booms, and most importantly, both have terrific Halb and Siege options. So now that you've heard everything I had to say about the map back in March, let me update you with a few things now that we are in May, or whenever you are watching this video. A few changes occurred in the March 30th patch. The biggest change is the resource placement. Golden stones are now placed around the map in equal numbers both on your side and your opponent's side, so you don't have to do some weird walling to try to get equal number of resources on your side of the map. But more importantly, your primary gold and stones are now located inside your walls. What this means is it's a lot harder to pressure them in Feudal Age with man-at-arm towers or archers, and thus it's also a lot easier to pull off a fast castle. So what I'd recommend is have a civilization that you can go either for feudal pressure, which I still think is the preferred play, or go for a fast castle behind it. So this would all depend, of course, on the scouting of your opponent's base, which I still recommend around that 8-minute mark. And so that's all I can teach you about Hideout. I'm sure there's other things that people can teach you about Hideout, so check the comments. If you're one of those experienced people, go ahead and drop some knowledge on all of us. And if you have a question, make sure to post that in the comments as well, and we'll all try to help you out with that. Since tier lists are also the new craze, I'm going to be making a tier list after each of my map guide videos. So the first one will be for Nomad, and then a tier list of all the civilizations for Hideout will come shortly after that. If you want me to review a different map, let me know in the comments as well. I'm thinking of doing Arena next, but if I hear a lot of requests for another map, I might do that next instead. Until next time, guys, take care.